again. It's been a long time. I have no idea how to introduce these things. I have notes this time, so I'm hoping I can be somewhat more concise than I usually am. That may actually mean that I don't look at the camera as much, and that's also another goal of mine, to look at the camera more, and just be more comfortable with it. We'll see how it goes. I thought I would force myself to get back into videos with a vlog, as doing those was helping my confidence, and it gave me a focus, like a focus on me rather than only having work and then coming home and maybe just binge watching TV. I thought if I force myself to get back into it with a vlog, that's a good way of beginning this again. And the purpose or the topic of this vlog will just be a general life update, as I haven't done a vlog in a while. So not much has been happening, but at the beginning of lockdown I decided to delve into some self-reflection. I kind of was planning on doing that before lockdown, and then the lockdown kind of just escalated all of that, and now I've had several months of sitting with my thoughts and looking inwards. But I told myself I would focus on personal goals, but also I would put myself out there and try to meet new people. So obviously that had been a bit hard because of lockdown, but the internet's a wonderful thing and you can talk to lots of different people. So and my personal goals was more about trying to figure out life purpose and my creative goals. But I realised that to do that I needed to do a lot of self-reflection. The goal was that I can focus on me, and I can also put myself out there and try new things and meet new people and such. But I've come to a few conclusions during my self-reflections, and I've done a lot of internal work, and so basically I've used lockdown to do a lot of thinking. So I've not done much, but I've been very busy. So I thought I would kind of give you an update in the sense of some of the conclusions that I've come to during all of this self-reflection. Hopefully you find it interesting. So one of the first conclusions that I have come to is I've realised that I'm a very restless person on the inside, but I'm also very reluctant to take risk, even though I desire and crave it. So I consider myself a creative soul, but my self-doubt often limits me and stops me exploring it and putting things out there, which is a typical thing to do if you're creative. You kind of share your creativity. Not everything, but some of it. But self-doubt stops me from doing that. So I am restless, but I'm reluctant to take risk, even though I desire and crave it. So I'm a walking contradiction. I tend to stagnate because of that conflict, and I used to do that a lot. So before lockdown I did that a lot, with just coming home and just binge watching TV. I became a consumer of entertainment rather than a creator of entertainment. Not that I want to be like super entertaining, but it's that difference between consumption of media and creation of media. That's the word I meant. I've got to let my cat in, hang on. And now she's going to jump up on the table. Here she is. Hey. So before lockdown I stagnated quite a lot, and she's so distracting. Are you dribbling? Are you happy? Oh. Where was I? Yes. before lockdown, I stagnated in my daily routine quite a lot because although I wanted to be creative, my self-doubt stopped me from really pushing the boat out. But all of this sitting with my own thoughts, not going out and doing as much, I realised just how restless I am. It's not the most poignant of conclusions, but it kind of laid the pathway for the rest of the conclusions, really. The second conclusion that I came to is that in my attempts of trying to learn more about myself and focus on myself, I realised that learning about yourself and focusing on yourself doesn't mean shutting out new people. But there is a fine line between seeking validation from others and using interaction with others to learn more about yourself and appreciate yourself more. It's about the depth of that interaction. So I suppose the second conclusion that I've come to is that I've realised just how valuable a lot of these connections are to me. So talking to new people, learning about them, helps me recognise what I value in life. And we've all been very connected to the internet during the last few months, and I've been talking to people that I probably would never have spoken to before, just people who've interacted with me on Instagram, and maybe you just have a brief chat just the once. But yeah, they've been very, very valuable conversations to me, and through talking to new people, I've learned a lot about myself. So yeah, point number 2, super appreciate valuable connections. So yeah, focusing on yourself doesn't mean shutting out others, okay? The third conclusion that I've come to, I'm sure I've come to more than just like the 4 conclusions I'm going to talk about here, but these are the most important and poignant ones, at least, or the biggest ones. So at the beginning of this YouTube journey, I wanted to use it to increase my confidence, and I don't know if I made it like, I don't know if I clearly stated this before or not, but it was kind of in order to help me like move on and like meet someone. I thought in my head at the time, at the very beginning of this, I don't know, was it like a year ago? Maybe even like a year and a half now? I thought if I'm more confident, I'll attract somebody that I want. Like if I feel confident in myself, I'll attract the sort of person that I'm looking for. And yeah, while I'm kind of right, confidence does attract people. My recent self-reflections have made me realise that that was very shallow of me. I will blame my hopeless romantic side. Wanting to be more confident in myself in order to attract a partner is kind of shallow. Instead, I should just be confident because I want to feel confident in my own skin. Following on from that, I also realised that I can work on me separately and simultaneously to dating. And so it kind of links to what I was saying about like my second conclusion about how talking to new people and interacting with new people has been really valuable to me, and focusing on myself doesn't mean that I have to shut out meeting new people, but realising that increasing my confidence needs to be done for me, not in order to attract something into my life. You know those sayings like how you need to love yourself in order to be loved, and that applies to all sorts of relationships, really. I'm not just talking about romance and stuff like that. I'm talking about friendships as well, and family, you know, all of those sort of connections. And there's sayings like that, like love yourself in order to be loved. You gotta love yourself first. You know, those sayings are, they're bullshit, really. Sure, it's important to love yourself. You've got to know your own self-worth in order to respect yourself and not let others walk all over you. Yes, you need to love yourself. That is so important. But we can't turn around and say you need to love yourself before somebody else can love you. We've got to stop banding about these blanket statements. There's a lot of these phrases out there, and they are actually, although they're quick and quirky and they can be quite useful in certain moments, overall we apply them to every situation and we turn that blanket statement into something incredibly toxic. And therefore I kind of was starting this YouTube journey with an aim that was nigh on impossible, because you can't fully love yourself before somebody can love you. I mean, that's bull. So overall, my third conclusion that I've come to is that it's just enough to be self-aware, to appreciate yourself and constantly work on that. Relationships, be it romantic, platonic or family, any of them, are about growing together, knowing and growing. I think that's my new catchphrase. I don't know, but this is the thing, I don't want to use catchphrases because they're toxic. Because they're blanket statements that can't be applied to every situation. And yet we do, and that takes away the value and the meaning behind the words. However, knowing and growing is a nice little mantra to remind myself of this conclusion, but it shouldn't be used without fully understanding the meaning behind the words. But yeah, if you can be self-aware, know yourself and appreciate yourself, and you know what your flaws are, know that we have traumas, we have flaws, and they're worth working on all the time. Throughout life, we're always a ever evolving project, I guess, and that's okay. That's enough. Because so long as you know that and you're working on yourself, any relationship, any connection you have with somebody, it's about knowing and growing. It's about growing with that person, knowing who you are, and them knowing who they are, and growing together. So yeah, that's conclusion number 3, which is a little bit more poetic and philosophical, I guess. Conclusion number 4. Quite a poignant one, really. It felt very poignant to me at the time, to the point where when I realised it, I kind of cried a lot. So I consider myself a very grounded and safe person. I'm a bit of a typical Capricorn. Not all the time, but sometimes. Sensible job, want a secure and safe life, save up that money, the typical. But the things that make me the happiest, when I feel really invigorated and inspired in life, my passions and my desires in my heart is focused on being free-flowing, and they're more like fire. So like, I'm a very grounded person, very earth element, but inside I'm very fire element as well. So again, slight conflict within me. But before lockdown was even on the cards, I was telling myself, I'm going to go with the flow more. I'm going to go with the flow. And it became my mantra throughout all of lockdown. And I thought I was doing that. But then I had a groundbreaking realization. The groundbreaking realization that I came to in terms of the saying, go with the flow, is that flow, the current that I'm in, just keeps me close to home, as in my comfort zone. It keeps me safe. So overall, I'm going with the flow, but the flow isn't taking me anywhere new. I'm not trying new things and taking a leap of faith. And taking that risk. So it kind of comes back to my first conclusion, where I was saying that I'm very restless on the inside, but I stagnate, and I don't really do much. But the reason why I stagnate comes back to this fourth conclusion. I realised that although I was going with the flow and I thought I was doing everything right, the flow that I was currently in wasn't taking me anywhere. And that made me cry. Yeah. It's not very tangible, but lots of things have changed within me in the last few months. You may have seen, some of you, a lot of this thought process on my Instagram captions, which may have seemed a bit backwards and forwards maybe sometimes, or maybe just a bit too melancholy, maybe a little bit sad. And I have actually had some people kind of go, hey, are you okay? Yes, I am. I am okay. The thing is, with any kind of self-reflection work, be it soul-searching, counselling, therapy, shadow work, anything like that, whatever method you use or whatever name you want to call it, it often means digging up the past and reliving through old traumas and reliving those emotions in order to process them and fully learn from them and move on. So although I may have had a few moments on Instagram that people have been that I have willingly shared and talked about, and people might have been like, ooh, what on earth has she been going through lately? I don't want you to think that that's a bad thing. In life, we go through shit and we learn lessons, and sometimes we go through some really intense shit. And sorry for swearing, but it's the most impactful word I can think of. But we go through this stuff and it's so intense, and we suffer and we're in a lot of pain during it, that the best approach for us at that time to protect ourselves is just to get through it. The problem with that is that sometimes the behaviours that we pick up from that, the lessons that we learn in those moments, are more defensive than anything else. So I wonder if I have an example. I do, but I don't know if it's too personal. You know what, sod it, because I doubt the person I will speak about will see this, and if they do, I really hope they're mature enough to not take this as a personal attack. But many years ago now, I dated somebody and it didn't go very well, and many mistakes were made on both sides, I won't go into the details. But I was very hurt and very upset, and I was very angry at myself for being so naive. And but then I just kind of fell into a relationship very quickly after that with an old friend who I trusted really well. And so I got through the pain and the suffering of that experience, and then I was in a relationship and I was very happy. But because I only focused on getting through it rather than getting over it, so to speak, there were a few lessons that I didn't learn properly and fully. And then recently in lockdown, I have reflected a lot and realised that I kind of carried some of those behaviours through into my relationship. So I became very intensely focused on being independent, to the point that in my relationship I was adamant that I couldn't, oh god, it sounds awful, I couldn't see a future where my partner and I would ever live together, because in my mind, if I was going to get a house, it would be on my own. And yeah, so I thought that was just me being a strong, independent woman. And there's nothing wrong with that, there really isn't. But only self-reflecting now have I realised that my heavy focus on being independent meant that I kept up a certain amount of walls with my partner at the time, and I didn't fully let him in. And I realised that recently, and I thought, my goodness, he really put up with a lot from me. Yeah, and I felt really bad about it. I felt really guilty. But, you know, it is what it is. And going forward, I've realised that actually, if I were in a situation like that again, you know, in a relationship and things, it's about being intentionally vulnerable with somebody, which is not easy and is very scary. But no risk, no reward. So that's what I mean by doing lots of self-reflection. It can be dragging up past situations that you thought you were over, but you haven't actually properly worked. You got past it, but you didn't work through it all and didn't fully get over it. So when you start doing all of this self-reflection, you kind of relive it, and you start to feel those emotions that you didn't fully let yourself feel before. So it does kind of mean that you might dip a little while you're doing the work, but it's for a good reason. It's for a good cause. Yeah. So it's been an intense few months, whilst simultaneously not much has happened. However, all of this reflection and all of these conclusions have led to, I suppose, a fifth conclusion, but it's more of a goal than it is a conclusion. Well, I suppose it is a conclusion. I've realised that I am ready to gain more independence in my life, and I want to figure out my identity, who I am, who I identify as in this world. And that is something that I've kind of hit a bump with. And the next step in me figuring out who I am in this world is by getting out into the world a bit more. And so for where I'm at the moment, and what I trying to get that balance between wanting to be extremely safe and secure and never wanting to take risk, whilst also fighting the urge to quit life and do something incredibly drastic. You know, there's those two conflicting feelings within me. I have decided that now's the right time in my life to move out. Hopefully. So that's where I'm focusing my energies right now. I've decided that I need to gain some more independence in order to fully discover my identity. So yeah, I'm looking into what my options are. It's kind of ironic because of what I was saying earlier about wanting to live alone, and actually that was kind of a toxic behaviour in that situation because I was heavily focused on like ultra independence. It's kind of funny that I've actually worked through it, all of that, realised that toxic behaviour, and realised that the next step forward for me to move past toxic behaviours like that is to actually do that thing that I was so toxically focused on. So it's almost ironic, but it's definitely the right step for me. It's definitely, I'm in the right time of my life to do that. I'm rambling. I'm going to try and stop here. This is my life update. It's nothing much tangible, very philosophical. But let me know if any of it resonated with any of you as well, because so many of us have been sat with our own thoughts, that a lot of us have turned inwards and have discovered things about ourselves, and hopefully we're all growing internally, and I find all of that stuff very interesting. So if any of what I've said resonated with yourselves or like made you think, you know, share that with me. I'd be really interested to hear. Maybe the next video after this is Greece, or maybe it's something else entirely, because I'm me and I'm disorganized. Yeah, thank you for watching. I'm hoping this is not too long a video. I hate ending these things. Yeah, see you in the next one. Oh my god, would you just stop? Yeah, it's not a very poignant conclusion, the first one, but it did. This is going very well. I'm just gonna sit down there, right in the way. That kind of led on to other conclusions. Thanks, honey. Yeah. Because you're the camera focused on you, because you know you're the highlight of this. Baby, we need to have a talk. I love you. I will always love you. But in order to keep loving you and this be effective, we need to have an understanding of boundaries. So you're just gonna sit in the shop right in front of me, right in the way. I'm trying to have a serious conversation. You can turn your back to me and flick you're hitting me as well. That's just. I love you. What if I smothered you in love? Would you then get out the shot? Yes. Oh. Oh. That actually worked. Sorry, baby. We're gonna have to just do the video with her in the way.